By the end of this video, I want you to do the opposite of what my friend did. The other day, I was at the grocery store talking to my friend that worked there, and he was telling me about the one time that he tried to bike to work. If I recall correctly, he said something like he was biking on the sidewalk, and there was a pedestrian on the sidewalk too, and then a car bumped the curb that he was on. And this one moment was enough to stop my friend from ever having the idea of biking to work ever again. It's just such a shame, dude. All cyclists fall into one of three confidence levels. The first type of biker is one that only likes to feel comfortable when they cycle. So maybe a really quiet street or a designated bike lane, maybe a nice path. The second type of cyclist is a little bit more confident. They're probably your average biker, and they're more willing to go on a busy street or a painted bike gutter, as they like to call it. Personally, I think I fall into the third category, reckless road biker. When I bike, just like when I drive, I play a sort of game. When I drive, I tend to brake as little as I physically can. Now, if you do this and you drive carefully, you can do your part and reduce traffic. But if you do this when you bike, it's really, really dangerous. I really don't suggest it, but it makes me feel alive. But since I like to live, here's some safety tips. Tip number 1. Plan out your route. Whenever I see somebody biking that's not really used to biking for transport, they tend to bike like they drive. Don't do this. Stay off the road. It's almost impossible to avoid a road and cars, but do this as much as you can. If there's a bike path available, take a bike path, even if it's out of the way. It's much, much safer. Say I'm going down this street. I'd rather take a left into a pedestrian zone than go on the busier sidewalk. Sidewalks are hell. This busy ass intersection brings me on to point 2. Look around. Always a train. When I come to this intersection here, I look left and I look right as much as I can. Now, it's more possible in like the spring and the fall when there's not really foliage obstructing your view, but it really helps. I'm looking around all the time. Seriously though, even if you're walking on a trail or biking slowly, look around. See if someone's behind you, get out of the way. It's super annoying to have to say, hey, on your left. This big hill here brings me on to tip number 3. Learn to use your gears. Especially when you're new to cycling, hills can be quite intimidating. So when you learn how to use your gears, it just makes things a little more manageable. Pro tip, it's easier when the back one is larger and the front one is smaller, and vice versa. This intersection brings me to point number 3, or maybe 4. Every time I'm here, I take my headphone out and I listen. Listening is very important when it comes to biking, because sometimes you can't always see shit. This is especially true for sometimes when you're going on a busy road and there's cars coming behind you. Let me just show you. I avoid the drive. Whew. I get right into the shoulder and I'll bike as fucking far from the cars as possible, and I won't turn around unless I don't hear anyone, which I don't, which is a good thing. Doing these. This is like tip number 6 or something. So after my GoPro rudely broke on me in the middle of recording, came back home so I could finish filming. Let's go back to that parking lot. So when I'm in a parking lot, I'll be looking for all of the backup lights. If you drive, you know what I'm talking about. No one is ever looking for a cyclist in a parking lot, and I've had more than one close call with somebody backing up right into me, which might have been partially my fault, but that's besides the point. That was my original tip, but I think I'm gonna broaden it out into more bike etiquette. Now, on a bike, you have a full range of vision. You don't have any blind spots, and it's really easy for people to see you most of the time. And it's really easy for you to communicate with people that are driving or other cyclists, which is what makes cycling nice. But it's this ability to communicate with drivers and indicate where you're going and look at somebody like right in the eyes and be like, I'm going over there, please don't hit me. That really helps me out. It's definitely saved me. For instance, check out this clip. Clip.
Oh, sorry.
Alright, what's basically the last tip for the day is learn to ride without your hands. It can be very helpful. Now, the reason this is a safety tip is because, let's say I'm about to go from a trail to a street. I'll ride without my hands for a little while before I go onto the street, so I'll wear out different muscles. And then when I get onto the street, my sprinting muscles are ready to go, and I can get as much speed as I can. So if somebody's gonna hit me from behind, I'll at least be going a little bit faster than I would have if my legs were really tired. That's really about it. Just a speed round with some tips. If you're coasting, have your pedals horizontal. If you're turning, have your pedals vertical. And the lower one is in the opposite position. So like if I'm turning left, my pedals will be like this. So I'll have my foot lower on the opposite side. I'd say buy some bike lights, but sometimes my bike lights are never charged, and I usually bike like no one can see me anyway. Alright, that's about it. I hope this video will elevate you from a 1 to a 2 to a 3, whichever one you're on, or I hope you get a little bit higher. I just hope you get out and bike, because it's a great activity, to be honest. Like, it's really social, it's really healthy, it's great. God damn it, I broke my GoPro.